So welcome back, everybody. Brendan Bardick here with another episode of Real Talk. Where we're going to be going over the most exclusive tips, strategies, techniques, bringing you live interviews with the top agents in their field that are going to be able to tell you some of that secret sauce that's going to help you in your real estate career. So today I'm joined by Steve Pilkington, who is one of the best in the game. Let's just be quite honest. Comes from a asset management background. He's a father of three, a downhill mountain biker, an adventurist, a team owner, a serial entrepreneur, real estate coach at the highest level. Pretty much, if you wanted to listen to one person in your life about real estate, this is probably the guy. So again, Steve, really excited to have you here. Why don't we start, Steve, with a little bit of information about who you are and kind of where your organization is at as of today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brendan. And it's an honor to be on the show and hoping some people get some value out of this today. So organization today, what's funny is from the end of last year to what the organization looks like right now, and with COVID being this incredible catalyst, we've had a lot of changes and really looking to get more in alignment with where kind of my heart is, with my goal for helping people, and then also identifying the people who are on the team that are the right fit for the team. Because very often, a lot of us who are extroverts and who look at business and growth, we see potential in everyone, only to find out that some of those folks, we might be great friends with them and we might love them in a personal way, yet they might not be a great fit for the team structure and for the model that we're running.
Right. So they might just be on a different path.
Oh, absolutely. And what's funny, I don't know are you familiar with Eckhart Tolle?
No.
So he wrote a book called A Whole New Earth and a Whole New Mind, and he's got a whole series with Oprah. And one of the things he talks about on there is that, so we all have this inner voice, this inner monologue. And sometimes that monologue is really positive, and sometimes that monologue not so positive. Yet one of the things he really focuses on is that there's nothing you can do, Brendan, that can hurt me internally unless I choose to be hurt. And so if you're going on a different path and that's something that is hard for me, that's my own perception. And if I care about you as a person and our paths just kind of diverge, that's okay. We can still support each other even if we're not in the same room together doing it. So there's been a lot of focus on that as a team. And that took us from a 19-person organization in December to right now we're 7 people. Yet we do have a couple of extra agents who, I love them. They're great agents and they're not on the team anymore, though they are still prospecting with my database and with our leads and paying us a referral fee. Yet I'm helping them be in alignment with what their goals are. And the side effect of that is that it's in alignment with what our goals, my goals as a team is, which is really to make sure that every person on the team, to your left, to your right, front and back, they're supporting everyone else and they're bringing everyone else up.
Right. Well, that culture is so, what people don't realize is just what you said there, going from 21 to 7. And a lot of people look at that from the outside and they'll say, oh man, what's happening there? And it's like, what they don't see inside is a lot of that's by choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost all by choice. And culture is so fragile and it's your culture. You're the start, the end, the whole shebang, right? So if people aren't in alignment, it gets tough. It gets tough, right?
It does. It really does. And, I'm huge in coaching. You mentioned that. And not just business coaching, personal coaching. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't dive into, yet it's so important, is mental health coaching and success coaching around what you believe and what you feel. And what's interesting is that, so one of my coaches, love him. He's my executive coach. His name's Craig Zuber. And he was identifying that I keep saying I want to go this certain direction, yet my actions are going different. Right. And for me personally, that was, I wanted to have a certain amount of net profit to take home, because then I can make changes in my family's life. I'm a big believer of creating a wall of financial protection around the people that I love. Not necessarily upsizing my house, yet constantly upsizing how many people that I can help if they need that help. And when I looked at, I had a very big organization, yet it was really burning through a lot of money. And so since the beginning of the year, we've cut our monthly expenses by $43,000 a month.
Wow.
And even though our production, so last year we've been hitting about 160 to 220 home sales per year. And this year we're on track to hit more around the 130 to 140. Yet the profitability is going to be triple of what it was last year, even through COVID, because we've just chosen to right size the individuals we have on the team, right size the activities that we're doing, right size what it is that we're spending money on, and really getting clear that if I'm going to choose to invest in something, that means I'm choosing to not invest in something else. Right. And so if I'm going to spend, let's say, like the $5,000 a month on Zillow that we're no longer spending, $5,000 a month can impact the people on my team, the people in my family, the people I care about incredibly. So is that getting the return that's going to help my team members, or can that be placed somewhere else? And is maybe the best place to put it in the bank so that as investment opportunities come up, now there's an opportunity to positively affect other people.
Right.
So,
and that's what I love about you so much is and I think we kind of went, that's what I love your passion. We went straight to the meat and potatoes, right? And so I want to come back to this, and I'm going to come back to this in depth. Let's start back on just a little bit on the journey, because I mean, your journey is very interesting. And also, I just want to make sure people love understanding, how did he get here? Right. Because when you throw out 200 homes a year, 300 homes a year, all this, and they're like, huh? Like, okay, sounds cool. But we know that in our industry, that's the top 1%. So that means there's 99% of the people trying to figure out what was that path to get there. So tell us a little bit about Rookie of the Year, which I want to dive into, because that's one of the biggest accomplishments I think you can have in an early real estate career. So bring us through that.
Yeah. So quick couple bullet points. I grew up in North Idaho. I'm the third of 7. I grew up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And we're a relatively low income family. And that was something that affected what my goals were in life, wanting to be able to have that security. That led me to being very diligent in my schoolwork. That led me to really working hard to become one of the captains of the football team, the track team, and then eventually getting a scholarship to Pepperdine. So for those of you who may not know, Pepperdine's in Malibu. It's a beautiful campus outside of LA. It's one of the only campuses you can take surf classes and sailing classes. And so it was an incredible experience. And I had never actually been there. So when I got accepted, it was because of a scholarship, because of academics. And I drove down there, never being down there, drove down there by myself, not with family or anything. And then that was the first experience I had ever had with what I think is the most impactful thing that has changed me in my life. And that just mind expanding and mind opening. Sure. To be around so many different cultures, and to have friends who come from families that are literally B net worth families, like billionaire net worth families, and kind of realize that, those folks are normal too. They did the right thing.
So, some of them are.
Yeah, a lot of them are. A lot of them are not. Yeah, a lot of them are. And so that led me to, and my original passion was science and to be a doctor. And I ended up switching to finance, was able to get my stockbroker's license while I was in college, and started working for a firm in Beverly Hills, and had some really cool clients, like the Incredible Hulk. Lou Ferrigno is one of my clients. And so it's kind of cool experience.
So you were never scared of work, right? It sounds like, I mean, I think that's what people realize. You got to realize early on is this didn't start, this started when you were 14, or this probably started when you were 9. You were probably hustling, some sort of cookie sale or something, right? Do you think, I get the question all the time, well, those people are just born that way, right? Like Steven's just, that's the kind of guy he is. Do you think that's true, or is it a learned experience? Can anyone do it, I guess?
I think anyone can do it. So in my family, it was kind of, I hate to say this term, but it was kind of like indentured servitude. So as a kid, like we kind of had a big piece of property, and you were working on the house. We built a house when I was in middle school, and you were working on the yard and in the house all the time. And because that's just what the family needed. And I kind of figured out that I can work at home and not get paid, or I can start working outside and get paid. And then be able to buy the clothes that I wanted. And so you mentioned 14. I did get my first full-time job making hot tub covers of all things when I was 14. And then that led to this kind of progression of constantly looking at, was there a better opportunity? And for the first decade, really, the mindset was all about, how can I be in a position to earn more money? And it wasn't until I really transitioned into investment banking after asset management, where I was making really good money, yet I hated it. Sure. Being in front of a computer for literally 10 to 20 hours a day. The longest day I had doing investment banking was Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. until Friday at 11 p.m. straight.
Oh,
And that one deal that we did made the company about $50 million. And I think I got about $5,000 on my bonus at the end of the year. But the guy who was 3 levels above me in the same division, he got an extra 500,000. Yet he got to go home to his family every night and
right.
got to go be himself. Didn't have to stay there and get this thing done. And so it was that experience that really brought me back to, I wanted to be in an environment where the effort that I put in and the accomplishments that I was able to achieve was directly proportionate to the results that I got out of it. And I was very fortunate to have a couple of friends who had gotten into real estate and had found success. One who's in Newport Beach and the one up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, who, like, Coeur d'Alene's a small town. And last year his team did like 92 million in sales. The guy in Newport last year, I think, did 215 million in sales. So I was very fortunate to have a couple of mentors. So when the banking environment was collapsing in 2007, my wife and I, we had just gotten married July 2007. We looked at that as an opportunity to right size our life. And that meant moving out of Los Angeles, where we didn't want to raise a family. We didn't have any family members there. It wasn't in alignment with her Midwest upbringing and my like Northeast or Northwest upbringing. And so then we came to Denver and started in real estate with the encouragement of some friends. And that's when I interviewed a lot of different companies. I did a little bit of research. So I knew that when I was going to meet with brokerages, they weren't interviewing me as much as I was interviewing them,
Right.
to see if it was a fit, the culture and what they provided. And so we landed at Keller Williams, and I was able to become the rookie of the year. I barely missed out being the rookie of the region. And it was because I just got after it and I learned from people, and I prospected and I worked and I took
Yeah.
every opportunity I could, even if in my mind I was like, I'm going to take this open house. And this is in 2008 when the market's crashing. And I'm like, I'm going to go to this open house and there's probably not going to be someone, yet I'm going to say over and over that somebody's going to come, somebody's going to need to buy, and they're going to buy this property.
Right. And so, and you hit on a couple of things there. So I want to go back to, you kind of slid this in there, and it's a big piece. So you said the word, you've been lucky to have some great mentors, right? And I think people don't understand when they hear that word, they're like, oh yeah, like he was lucky, but you have to seek out mentors, right? Tell me about that experience a little bit. If you could go back, and I think, we both talk quite a bit, and we know that we're here because coaches, mentors, phenomenal people in our lives helped guide us in a certain way to get us here. How did you seek out that first mentor? Or if you could explain to somebody how to do it, what would you do?
So the first mentor that I had and how I sought him out was, he was a good family friend and he was a doctor, and it was the side effects. I was attracted to the side effects of what was happening in his life, which meant the house on the lake, up in Hayden Lake where I grew up. They drove nice cars, yet not super fancy. They had a boat. They went on vacations. He was an awesome father to his kids. That
So
was
you
what
you saw somebody of what you wanted to be.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I mentioned the side effects, because a lot of the times when we look at mentors, we look at somebody who's accomplished something great. And so we're not even necessarily looking at the mentor and what's happening with them internally. We're looking at the side effects of what they've been able to accomplish and how they're affecting people around them. And that's what we're attracted to. We're attracted to that positive energy. We're attracted to that success. So the first mentor I had was he's an OBGYN up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, named John Cutting. And then that led to other mentors that were business owners, that were entrepreneurs and able to start companies and positively affect a lot of people, which led all the way to me going to Pepperdine, and then having a fraternity brother who talked about a very positive experience at an investment bank he was working. And then to meet the gentleman who founded this investment bank named Brian Holmes, who currently manages, I think, like $12 billion. And Brian is one of those individuals that has made over $1 million a year since he was like 27 years old. Wow. And as a 18, 19-year-old, I saw that and I was like, that's what I want to be. I want to be able to accomplish that. And so I'm going to emulate what he's doing.
Well, and people listen and they see people and they kind of get sometimes that limited mindset, I think, where they go, well, his journey was way easier because he got to go to college and he had this and he had that. And it's like, no, you put yourself in positions to be around people that put you in the right mind frame to get you where you wanted to go. right? You could
Yeah.
have easily,
Hmm.
we know there's plenty of people out there that can sit here every day. I hear people every day go, well, he had this opportunity and I don't. And it's this excuse train of why, well, he's rookie of the year because he had a good database, or he was this because of that. They don't see the behind the scenes work that you do, where you're strategically sitting there, and you touched on a couple things there. Your open house affirmations, first of all, I love, because I'm a big proponent of I think we both are, self-development
Yeah.
affirmations mindset, right? And instead of sitting there going, hey, I'm going to have an open house, and well, I got to do it because I was told if I do open houses I might sell a house. You're looking at it going, market sucks, hey, still going to have success, and here's what I'm going to tell myself to make sure that happens. And surprise, results showed up.
That's exactly right, Brennan. And it's funny. We all have stuff that we came from that was negative, and I don't need to dive in too deep on that yet. A couple of quick highlights is like physically abusive family, mentally abusive family, poor beyond belief, like the ridicule that comes from like other children when you're like free breakfast, free lunch, free after school snacks as a kid. And so it's not like I definitely
But
didn't
when
have a
they see
silver
you now,
platter.
yeah, when they see you
Yeah.
now and they see the stats, they wouldn't know that, right? Like
Mm,
that's the hard thing, is assumptions that people make. So no, I mean, I just want to
yeah.
make sure people are very crystal clear on, you don't know how people got to where they're at, so don't assume that you do, because when you say, hey, I went to college in Malibu, I know certain people heard that and they were like, oh, poor him, right? No wonder he's got this set up, right? So they never really see it, but it's, you put yourself in that situation to get there, right?
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about it. So rookie of the year, talk to me about what a day looked like your rookie season.
Yeah, so typically, like days in my rookie season, where I was showing up at the office to do what was then the Camp 443, which I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's called Ignite now or what it's called now, to do the training. And so I would start focusing on the training. And somebody early on, I'd overheard tell me that if you focus on prospecting, even if you don't know what to do, you're going to succeed more than the person who figures out everything to do and then focuses on prospecting afterwards. And it's because that 90-day window of from the time you talk to somebody to the time that they're going to turn into a transaction that could close, or back in those days, in the short sale days, that might be a 270-day or a 400-day window with short sales. So my day would start off with some training, and then it would go into going after transactions, whether it was
Yeah.
like I started doing some lead generation by paying for some leads. I started calling NED lists from free title company NED lists. I saw another mentor in the office who like blew my mind that he was door knocking NEDs. And so then that led me to going out with him once. And then I started doing it on my own, which is quite an experience.
And for listeners that don't know what an NED is, notice of elective demand, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are folks who the banks are reporting that they're not paying their payments. And during 2008, that most likely meant that somebody was on the path for a foreclosure. So if we could catch them, and it became one of my passions to help find people before they spent their retirement money paying their mortgage. Because at the time, the banks would call the consumers, the homeowners, and they would say, "Hey, yeah, you've lost your job. You don't have the money to pay this. Well, do you have any retirement? Why don't you cash out that retirement and use that retirement money to pay us?" But what most people didn't know was that the bank cannot come after their retirement money unless you cash it out yourself and use it.
Right.
So you get folks who have $50,000 in retirement that they've spent 20 years building, cashing it out, paying a 30% penalty and paying taxes on it. So they might end up with $20,000, $25,000 left. And then they're using that to pay their bank on their mortgage instead of negotiating a short sale, keeping that $50,000 in their retirement and selling the house before it goes all the way through the foreclosure process, meaning that the deficit is going to be less to the bank. And so that is less potential liability to the seller. And ideally, we got all that liability waived. So what started off as a tool to generate business then became a tool to help people protect the assets that they had left. Even though like the two common things that I saw with pretty much every short sale I did was a massive flat screen TV, which nowadays you can buy them for like $300, but back then they were like $5,000, and like the best like Dish Network or DirecTV package ever. So they weren't necessarily spending their money wisely.
Completely.
Yet I still wanted to help those folks protect themselves so that when they got knocked down, they'd be able to get up faster, or maybe they didn't get knocked down quite as low.
Right. And that goes back to your overall mission of helping people in real estate, and why your clients love you and you have amazing reviews. And, you're probably one of the most loved, realtors in the area, because that right there is so different than people, because people look at it when I talk to them about calling, NEDs or pre-foreclosures or people that are struggling, they always are like, you're a vulture, right? Right. You're a vulture, or you're just trying to, make money off. And it's like the way that you just presented it was the same way that I looked at it, which was, I'm saving what little you have left, right? And I can help you navigate this, because the bank is not your friend, right? We know, if we know anything, people are like, well, they're trying to do a loan mod with me. And I think we're going to see this in the years to come. I mean, obviously we both know it's cycles, and you've gone through the worst and seen the best. I mean, obviously when you called your first NED or door knocked it, it's terrifying, right? Let's be honest, it's terrifying. And they're not all happy and rosy people. I wish that was the case.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I remember like in the same instance going door knocking, I had somebody who I knocked on this $2 million house, and he was like, yeah, my mortgage isn't showing up being paid because I wrote a check and paid it off. And he looked at me like,
you goofball.
Yeah, exactly. He was just like, oh, you're just wasting my time. And then I encounter people who were like, thank God, like we didn't know what to do and we just need some guidance. And then I had another time where I walked up to a gentleman who was working on his car. His kids are playing in the yard. I mentioned it, and I did it very, very tastefully, very, very quietly. And he said, at first he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I just showed him the NED, and he goes, get off my property before I go get my gun.
Oh,
and in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, his wife has no idea. His kids have no idea. And he's holding this inside, and I'm getting off his property right now. And maybe we'll send him a letter and just say that there is solutions. Yet know that what he's going through wasn't a direct reflection on me. It's what he's experiencing right then.
Yeah, you had empathy for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about that word so much lately, but yeah, you were empathetic of his situation instead of, I mean, as you know, I always tell people it's sketchy in the streets, right? But if you're not out there, you can't do business. So you crush rookie year, then take us from there to here in kind of the bullets.
Yeah. So the most impactful thing that happened to me was in my second year in real estate in 2009. There was a training program that came out called BOLD. And so BOLD, for those of you who aren't in the Keller Williams system, it stands for Business Objective, a Life by Design. And it really taught me more about prospecting and lead generation, and about what it's like to really set goals. And what's funny, the single most impactful thing about it, though, is there's this exercise where you put a piece of paper on your back, and then people walk around and you write what you think or feel about somebody. And it's all positive things. And the reason that impacted me is when that was taken off and I read the list of what it was, I was just like crushed. It wasn't remotely what I thought I was projecting to the world.
Sure.
It wasn't the person that I knew I was inside. So it said some very nice things, yet it was very generic, and it wasn't, it didn't really speak to the person that I felt like I was, or that I really wanted to be to other people, which was impactful, like incredibly knowledgeable, being able to guide and lead other people, inspirational. And one of the most kind of rewarding pieces was a couple of years later when I took that same course, and the things that people wrote on my back were 95% in alignment with how I actually viewed myself. So it was a big waking up moment where I realized that how I'm playing right now, I might feel like I'm on the path to be the person I want to be. Yet if no one else is seeing it, something's disconnected with what I'm internally feeling versus what the world is seeing out there. And so that course led me to starting thinking bigger, starting to plan, really starting to spend some time on what are my goals? Why do I even have those goals? Where do I see myself in a year, in 5 years? And then what does it look like to put that plan in action on a day-to-day basis?
Well, and that's the other big thing in this whole entire process, I think, is, you also slid in there, when I went back to the conference for the second time, right? And when you look at these things, and what people really don't grasp is how much you are focused on learning, right? Learning and self-discovery, right? And I mean, you've got to be, in the mastery column of 10,000 hours. I mean, if you think about how much you've done, and I think that's the major gap between people that are consistently successful they're not investing in their self-education. They're not investing. I know you can rattle off book after book, quotes after quotes. And you've probably been to 50 million conferences. You have multiple coaches. They don't realize that and I always think about this. It's like how much like a LeBron James or Tiger Woods or these people spend on coaches and mentors and personal, trainers and all this, where the other average agent's like, yeah, I read the first chapter of that book and so here I am. Right? Like talk to people a little bit about how important has learning been in your journey.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brendan. It's been phenomenal. And it started when I was a new agent so I got to Colorado and I didn't know where anything was. And this is back before every car has GPS. And at the time I couldn't afford to buy one of the Garmin's, the TomToms.
You were rocking MapQuest.
Oh my gosh, I was printing out MapQuest and like I'm thumbing through pages, missing turns as people are following me. And so it really started with almost like memorizing maps and areas. And then I started looking at like, okay, so if I got a lead or if I saw somebody do a transaction, then I would want to research who owned the house and then what did they do on LinkedIn and then what led them to be successful. And to just start learning more and more about real estate, learning more about like, okay, if there was 5 houses that sold in the last 2 weeks in this neighborhood, but there's 40 available. And for those of you who are working with buyers right now and saying it's really tough because like you miss out on a multiple offer scenario or there's only 5 homes available. Well, when there's 500 homes available, that can be a whole different challenge. And that's what it was like back in 2008. So it was really wanting to be that knowledgeable person who didn't have to go back to my clients over and over and over again saying, let me get back to you on that. Just really getting that information so that I could guide them, because I knew the more I knew and I internalized it, where I really like grasped it and comprehended it, then I could actually really advise them and I could really guide them versus just setting them up for a portal search and then opening up doors. So spending time sitting on my laptop at night while like my wife and I, we have a little bit different taste on what we watch in shows. She loves a lot of those crime dramas. And I almost like don't want to know what's happening in real life when it comes to crime stuff. Yet I'm happy to sit there next to her on my computer and research stuff yet. So we're still having that proximity in time, even though I may not necessarily want to know about the latest serial killer or something else that's been solved.
Sure.
So it really started with that and learning and getting those signs of success from people who were succeeding and then looking at what was it that caused them to get there and then seeing patterns of they read a lot. And I'm someone who, like, even to today, I have a challenge sitting down and reading. I'm totally an adult ADD person, yet I can blow through 3 audiobooks a month while I'm doing something else. And I pause and take notes. And so looking at that and I started seeing this pattern where the people who were successful, they were in Mike Ferry coaching or Brian Buffini coaching,
right,
or some other mentorship that led them to being successful. So I knew that the more I could learn and emulate what they were doing and then follow those patterns, the more I could be successful. And at first, it's like working out. The hardest thing is that you start doing it and you're a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into it, and you're not seeing the signs. You're not seeing your abs poking through yet.
right.
And then all of a sudden, before you know it, as long as you stay consistent, people are asking you like, what are you doing? And then they're saying, you're so lucky that you're getting all these transactions. And you're lucky that you did a floor duty that led to a deal, that led to another deal, and led to another deal. And it's like, no, I actually took every single floor duty I could take that was available. And then while I was doing it, I was making calls or I was researching and I was building that knowledge basis so that I could be effective when I did have a conversation with somebody. Yet it never prevented me from reaching out and sounding stupid, not knowing something, knowing that as long as I could connect with people, I could learn it and I could find my gaps. Yet if I never connected with people, then no amount of knowledge was going to help me.
Right. First of all, phenomenal. And then second of all, so it obviously wasn't all roses, cupcakes, and puppy dog tails. So what were kind of some of the roadblocks you hit in those first couple of years?
So roadblock number one is I was a mid-20s something in LA living the lifestyle of going out and partying and being my own person, and started dating and we got engaged and we're still going out and having fun. And I'm very extroverted and my wife is very introverted. And so we get married And I wanted to keep recreating what I had been experienced, which is all this fun. And a lot of the sales that I had done in asset management was prospecting for people and then just going out and being with the people all the time. Yet we got married, moved here, and got pregnant, bought a HUD property that was just destroyed, all, and changed careers all within like a 6-month period, and to an area that was new. So the challenges I was encountering on a daily basis is I was about to become a father, and I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I wasn't financially prepared for that. Even though my wife, who's an attorney and she's been a stay-at-home mom for 8 years now, we did pretty well in LA, and we spent every dime of it.
Sure.
We had a great lifestyle. So when I really started getting into this, I remember one of the biggest challenges I had was I was winning awards and getting patted on the back. Yet I think my first year I had like $76,000 of gross income. Yet after cap fees and money I spent, my taxes showed about $38,000 of net. And that was like a fraction of what I had made before.
Sure.
And so people are patting me on the back while I'm quietly going broke. And then in year two, my production doubled. Yet almost at the end of year two, my wife sat me down and she was like, okay, we're starting to make money, yet it's not consistent. How long are you going to do this before you throw in the towel and get a real job?
Mm. And I think a lot of us have been at that moment, right? It's that maybe this isn't for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe all those doubts flow into your mind. So yeah. So how'd you get past it?
So, it's funny is like, I had such a challenge sitting down and doing the paperwork. So it was funny, like there was it was actually one of the team leaders that used to be in your office, Jen Morgan. She and I would like once a month would be there until like 2 a.m. doing paperwork separately because we had all these contracts closing and we just couldn't stand doing the paperwork. What I didn't know for a long time was that while anyone can do anything, the personality styles really impact what you're going to get energy from. And so the challenge I had was I was attempting to do everything. And because I came from a background of thinking like, if I didn't spend the dollar, then that was a dollar that I earned that's better versus investing in people, which at the time, the thought of hiring somebody for $3,000 or $4,000 a month just blew my mind. Like that was just like, gosh, that's so expensive. And I kept thinking to myself like, oh, $36,000, $48,000 a year, how can I ever afford that? I didn't look at the fact that when you invest in the right person, they do something that you might not be good in, and they do it better than you ever could. And so that was the biggest hurdle. And that once I started having that mindset, and it was actually it was a training course where the instructor was saying, when you hire somebody, a $50,000 a year salary does not mean you owe $50,000. It means you owe $4,500 or $5,000. And if they don't work out in that first 30 days, that's your investment. And that kind of started clicking. So it was really in that third to fourth year, I started growing and expanding. And I knew that would lead me to be able to produce more because I'd now seen enough success and I'd now seen enough signs that a lot of other folks could not, they just wouldn't get on the phones. And I was a big phone prospector. I even learned in my second, it was like halfway through my second year, to stop doing open houses because I could talk to way more people dialing from 9 a.m. until 1. Then I learned that there are other people that are great at that, yet I could hire somebody to help me with the contracts and help me with the paperwork piece of it that would free up 10, 15, 20, 30 hours a month. And then that would be time that I could spend with my family or time that I could spend generating more transactions.
Right. And when you look at that and that difference of mindset of, I'm sure when you were 19, 20, you didn't wake up one day and you go, you know what, I want to get on the phone and call for sell by owners, right? It wasn't like you were like, hey, this is going to be super awesome, right? And we look at that and then people go, well, I'm never going to do it that way, or I'm never, and like you said, then fine, then don't, then if that's your cup of tea, then you still got to figure out a way to build your network, right? You came from no one, right? You didn't know a single, maybe not single, but very few people here. The wife's kind of introverted, so she's probably not, out there, whining and dining and schmoozing all these people. So how'd you build your database? You talked a little bit about lead generation, and I also want to come back to the leverage because the other question I want to have in there too is, looking back, would you have wished you would have hired an assistant earlier?
Oh my God. Like if I could go back and do it again, I would have figured that out and I would have Yes, 100%. Instead of spending like $1,000 a month on homes.com leads back in 2008, I would have figured out how to spend $1,000 a month and do an assistant share with somebody, or even just doing a transaction manager on a pay-to-play basis. Because like the thought at first, like the thought of paying a few $100s, now it's like $450, $500 for a transaction for most third-party transaction managers. That thought was like, oh my God, that's so much money. Only you're not actually even paying it up front. You're paying it if it actually closes. So when we talk about growing the network, so I started, as I mentioned, I started doing open houses. And every time I would talk with somebody, I would get their information the best I could. And then I would put them on in the database and I would just follow up with them. I'd give them a call. I would just go through that list. I started going to a lot of networking groups. So I joined the Denver Chamber of Commerce to start meeting other business owners. And I learned probably 6 months into it that no amount of me showing up and asking for business was going to get me business. Yet if I showed up and I was like, you know what, I know somebody who could help you. And I actually met this person that they didn't hire me. They hired another agent, but I think you should talk to him because you could probably help him with your insurance and you could help him with this contracting thing. You could help him with that. And the side effect of that was you give somebody 3 or 4 leads that turn into a couple of deals. They start feeling like they need to start helping you out.
Yeah, you weren't showing up at the Chamber of Commerce going, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate today, right?
Yes.
Me, and that's hard for people because they think that, okay, I go to one Chamber of Commerce meeting or one networking group and I didn't get a lead, so not doing that again. Those guys were wrong, so forget that, right? They don't get that it's a long play. It's a long play.
It is. It's funny. A couple of years ago, I was fortunate to be on stage at one of the Keller Williams events in front of 18,000 people, plus who knows how many people streaming. I know you've been on stage quite a few times. And
congrats, and it's terrifying, right?
It can be. You just see the lights and you see this like massive audience.
Yeah.
And yet when I was getting up there, and I was up there with a couple of individuals who were just giants in the industry, like Lance Loken and Ben Kinney and Brian Kane were up there with me. And these guys all have incredible organizations. And I kept thinking, like, what can I say that can impact the crowd as a whole and the average agent out there that these guys haven't already said? And I was unfortunate enough to be the 4th person in line. Ooh. So I had to hear what they were saying first. And it's like, okay, well, they just took one thing I was going to say. And at the end, when it came down to it, what I said is, it doesn't matter what you do on a daily basis in real estate, as long as you add anywhere from 2 to 5 people to your database 5 days a week, and you just do that forever. Right. And if you think that you don't know somebody, think again. How many, like even today, I probably have, I have dozens of people in my phone that are from the kids' soccer, that are from the gym, that I haven't gotten all of their information in there yet. And I still actively work on growing that. Are you connecting with them on LinkedIn? If somebody comments on something on Facebook, and I resisted Facebook for years, if they comment on something, are you reaching out to them? And then are you seeing, is there anything you can do to help them or anyone they know? And by doing that, so like my LinkedIn now, I don't even know how many it is. It's like 12,800 people or something connected. And that's not using a bot and like mass connecting. That's just like, okay, do we have a conversation? Do we know somebody? Can I shoot you a message? And just slowly build and build and build.
Yeah, and in a different mindset, instead of going, oh, these people keep trying to connect with me on LinkedIn. Right. Right. Instead of that mindset. And I think we've all been there. We're like, oh, really? And instead going, are you kidding me? This is a free platform and I'm a real estate agent and I'm a walking billboard. I tell people all the time, I go, I don't get why. It's just the way you embrace it, right? And it's a lifestyle for you, right? It's not like you don't sit there and you're like, Tuesdays, I'm going to do LinkedIn, right? It's just part of who you are, right?
That's 100% correct, Brendan. Yeah. And one of the things that I forgot to mention earlier, so that got me over the mindset of reaching out to people and feeling like I might have been bothering them is, and forgive me, whoever told me this, and because I can't give you credit for it right now because I can't remember who it was. But they said, all it takes is having a friend or family member have a negative experience with somebody else. And then this person said, okay, if your grandma hired someone else and got taken for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in the transaction, and you could have done a better job, would you feel like you did everything you could to make sure to protect them and help them?
Sure.
And as soon as I had that mindset where I'm like, okay, I'm truly calling you to help. Like, it looks like you have a challenge. You didn't get something, you didn't sell, or you registered to buy a property or to get financing or whatever else it was. I know that I can help you, and I'm
Yeah.
going to do it, and I'm going to work diligently to do it better than anyone else can.
Yeah, be
And
a
if I can't do
hero.
it,
I always tell people,
oh,
pretend you have
yes,
that Superman underneath there, and it's like, because if you don't think that you have that mindset, it's a hard day to kind of lead gen if you don't truly believe that you're here to help. People a lot of times are making calls to get a sale. They're not
yeah,
calling to help, and because they're doing that, people smell that. They're like, that seems insincere. So click where you're coming from. I really think I can help you, and I really truly believe that I'm probably better than most.
yep. And it's like the two things that I tell my team you're always going after when you're calling is you're looking for timing and you're looking for motivation. And you're not necessarily, while you, of course, you ask for the sale, you ask to help people, you're not trying to push it down the line that fast. You're just really trying to connect with them on what's their motivation and what's their timing, and then be there continuously until that motivation and timing gap goes from here to they're writing an offer.
No, and I love that. And you know, and I know we have a limited amount of time, and I wanna really dive into just a few things because I always want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure people understand, and we'll always have you back, of course, because you're amazing. But let's talk tactical for a second. So
Mm-hmm.
so when you said database, talk about the evolution of CRM. What were you using then? What are you using now? What did you learn?
Yeah, so like the CRM evolution went from using what KW had before even eEdge came around, and
Oh,
then starting Top Producer, and then going from Top Producer to I think we're using My Buying Buddy, and then that evolved into Infusionsoft, and which was just a challenge, and
for all of us, I think we
uh,
all went through an Infusionsoft stage and said nope.
yeah, exactly. And I was on Real Geeks, I think right before Infusionsoft. And then at the time, Boomtown was limited to the number of licenses. So with another friend in town, he got the idea, or we were kind of complaining about how there wasn't enough Boomtown bandwidth. And so he started investing money in creating his own CRM system, which I invested into, and that's now called FirePoint.
Mm,
And we started using FirePoint. And then that wasn't even evolving fast enough for where we wanted to go. And now the team is currently on Commissions Inc. And we're utilizing Commissions Inc. or Sync now. Yet through that entire time, the one constant, and this is something that I'll always remember, there was this like young buck on stage named Jeff Glover, who was younger than I am. And he's up there talking about how they had done 300 something transactions and they didn't have a CRM. And I
right.
was just like, what? I've spent so much time with my superlative website and trying to look good, and they were printing out pieces of paper and using Excel spreadsheets, yet it worked for them.
Right.
And so really it doesn't matter what CRM you use, you just have to use it.
Yeah,
And
the
look
word
at
system, the word system can be interpreted very different. I used to know an agent, I tell people this all the time, that his entire business was on 3x5 cards with a rubber band around it. And he would add people to it and he would keep it. And he said, if it gets too big to put in my suit jacket pocket, he goes, that means I have too much fluff in there and I have to throw some away. And
Oh, that's amazing.
and he crushed it. And he absolutely
Yeah.
crushed it. And I was like, I was the same way. I'm like, I need to have, algorithms and stuff and it's all of this. And I'm just like, and I think that's even what's hurting a lot of us now is we've overcomplicated it, right? We've
Oh,
almost
massively.
over, everybody's like, you have to have, and believe me, I love workflows and smart plans
Mm-hmm.
and all this, but at the end of the day, it's talk to people consistently and then you will do business if you're not a douchebag, right? Like that's
Oh my God.
light
That's
bulb.
it. Yes. One of the
So
most successful solo agents I know for like 13 years carried 3 binders, those massive 3-ring binders, and just went from page to page to page and took notes when he called people. And then when he got to the end, he started the next book and the next book. And he's currently an 800,000 net take home agent here in Denver.
So now you're at Commission Sync. So that seems to be working for you. What other technology are you using right now to leverage your business, or are you?
Yeah, we are. So we have my database is about 78,000 people now, and with 7 people, there's zero chance we're ever going to hit that database. So we started recently using Structurally, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Structurally or
Oh yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love structure.
I love Structurally too. So they own the AI bot that communicates with clients, and it's amazing. Like it'll even send a text message with a word misspelled, and then send the word spelled
Yeah,
correctly right after it. So
people flirt with it. Like they think it's
totally.
a real. So break it down to, because I know we're talking like we know what it is. So structurally, what if should I? What would I need it for in my business? What does it do?
what you need it for is it helps identify the funnel right here and push it down right here. So the agents on the team are spending the time with people that are interacting instead of trying to fish in this massive pond. It's you're schooling it down to a fraction of the number of the people, yet you're finding those people that are showing signs that they're going to buy or sell.
So lead comes into your database. You or one of your team members addresses it. What talk me, because again, you know it because you're inside of it. If you were explaining it to a 5-year-old, which is sometimes me, right? What happens from when I get the lead? What does structurally do?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a quick little step back. So when a lead comes in our database, we have what's called lead day. So an agent is on call from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. to answer every lead that comes in. And so it's like their floor duty. And so they're taking those new leads. And if they don't communicate with one of those new leads within the first 7 days, now it gets put over to structurally to start doing that automated communication. So it's up to the agent to communicate with that lead at least 10 to 12 times in the first 7 days between phone calls, text messages, and we love video text. Just pick your phone up and do a quick 15-second, like, hey, this is Steve Pilkington. I just wanted you to have a face with a name so that I'm one of the agents out there, but I'm the best agent who's going to help you buy your property, things like that. And then, so if you don't get a hold of that person, then that big pool of leads goes in and structurally starts communicating with them. So instead of trying to take, let's say, 10 leads that come in on your day and communicate with them over the course of a year, after that week, structurally picks up on it. And then if there's a 12-month program where they communicate with the lead over the 12 months so that the agents on their lead day, they're interacting with new leads that come in, and then they're interacting with people who are raising their hand with structurally, meaning that structurally has been texting back and forth. They're communicating. The client has selected a property. They've asked to talk to a lender. They've asked to do a showing. It's given them some kind of flag to reach out to, and then structurally says, hey, call this person, reach out to them. They're interested in doing something.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. Yeah. It basically is, as you said, it's making a huge funnel into a smaller funnel so you can focus on the people that actually might have some sort of interest. It's not, and people then go like, oh, he's just getting people going, hey, I'm ready to sell. It's still not even that. After you have the filters, you still have to follow up. And are you doing any kind of direct mail, or what does database follow-up system look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 50 to 70% of our business every year is actually our past clients and referrals from our past clients. So we are heavily communicating with our past clients with emails, with valuations through HomeBot, we send mailers on things that are happening in Denver. It's a little bit more challenging right now because people can't necessarily go to the parks and have the events and stuff they used to do. So there's a massive communication plan on there. And on our team, we believe that everybody should have no more than 3 lead levers. And every single person, number one, is their sphere. It's the people that they know, because you ideally can capture that person further upstream before they even register on a Zillow or they log into any other website. You should be, if you're communicating with them, you're going to be able to capture that business before it ever becomes an internet lead.
So for our listeners, what's a lead lever? You use a lot of words that I know me and you know, but they may not understand.
So a lead lever is, we talk about, so in like a factory, if you're going to pull a lever, you have a result from it. Well, a lot of people, they look at all of these different opportunities, and instead of getting really deep and focusing on 1 or 2 things or 3 things, like we said, they will try and focus on everything. So instead of really mastering one thing, they're the master of none, but the jack of all trades. And when you focus on the 3 lead levers, so that everyone, number one, is their spirits, the people that they know, that they encounter from school, from their place of worship, from clubs, from sports, from neighbors, any of that stuff, family member and extended family member. And then afterwards, we look at what is the thing that you're going to focus on most. Is it going to be open houses? Is it going to be doing lead generation from expireds and FSBOs? And then, of course, the third piece is your deal day. And those are the internet leads that are coming in there. So we have everyone on our team focus on this, yet everyone knows that 70 to 90% of your business is going to come in follow-up. It's not going to come because you pick up the phone and somebody is, boom, ready to go.
70 to 90%. Listen, I mean, that, if there's the one thing I wish I could tattoo on every agent, 70 to 90% of your business is going to come from follow-up.
Yep.
That's it, right? Like and boy, that's the hard thing to break that paradigm in people's minds, is they just think that if I do it for a week and it doesn't work, I'm ghosting it. And to your other point, I mean, I love the 3 listing. I'm even thinking in my own business, I'm like, yep, I'm doing that wrong. Because again, we get so caught up in, this lead, that lead, internet. Well, Susie's doing this, Johnny's doing that. Everybody's got all this stuff. So I should be doing that too. And if you just dialed it into, like you said, no matter what, you can't live without your sphere, right? It's
Yep.
gotta be one of those levers. And then if you take 2 more, maybe you're the expired ninja. Maybe you're the open house ninja. Maybe you're the for sale by owner ninja. Whatever it is, just dial in. For most people, I tell them, try to get at least 1 right first, or at least
Yes.
80%, and then try to start doing all things. So I think that's a huge takeaway forever. Well, as I said, I'd love to talk to you for 50 million hours, but unfortunately you're an extremely busy man and I'm sure we always want to be respectful of your time. So with your mission, obviously, like I said, one of the most well-liked, agents, coaches, business gentlemen out there, what are you looking for to expand your world right now? Are you looking for talent? Are you looking for what can our listeners, if they're interested in learning more about you and possible opportunities with your organization, first of all, what are those opportunities? And second of all, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely, Brendan. And thank you for asking that. So my team, the Path Home team, which you can kind of see right there, Path Home. So our mission is to guide people on their path to achieving generational wealth through real estate. And it starts first and foremost with the core members of your own personal family. Then it goes to the team members that you have around you, and then it goes to your clients. Because you can only help so many people if you're not helping yourself and taking care of yourself. So when you talk about what we're looking for right now, I am constantly looking for talented individuals who want to be part of an organization where they're going to get a lot, yet they're going to give a lot. They're going to bring people up. And that is agents. That is people who are potentially new and just getting into the business. There's people who are succeeding, yet they're hitting a ceiling and they want to be part of something. We've been doing some operations restructuring during COVID. And so we're looking for some operations individuals. So when it comes down to it, we're looking for people who have a passion of helping people and who really want to achieve wealth that can do more for them. It's not just about getting the Tesla in the driveway. It's about what can you do for the next generation to leave that lasting positive legacy. And so I'm looking for growth-minded people who want to be part of something that can help other people.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at organizations, and I hear this all the time, well, I really want to partner with someone where I'm going to have room to grow. That's when I think of you, I think that's the guy. Like if you want to grow and you want to expand your business, your wealth, your mind, you're the top in the field, right? Like it. So yeah. So and just for the listeners out there, so when he says operations, that could mean administrative support, that could mean ISAs, meaning all kind of different things. And then of course talented agents. If you're a seasoned agent, new agent, looking, I think what we both know about each other is it's all about the fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two different, you might have an agent that is completely perfect for your organization that would never be a fit for somebody else's and vice versa. And it took us a long while to get there because in the beginning you're like, I should just have a bunch of agents, right? Like I want to get agents because that's what everybody tells you you're supposed to do. And you look cool on stage and you got all the, woo, right? And then you're like, that's a nightmare. And so now I think, it's much more about that fit. And then also for everyone out there, and we cover kind of a lot of ground, is if you're looking to buy or sell a home, I think you understand with this organization and with Stephen is it's about trying to build generational wealth. It's about the home you're going to have one of the most exceptional experiences, but you're also going to learn and learn how to be an investor probably, and not probably, but likely.
Yeah. Definitely.
And all of these things. So where do I go to find you or opportunities? What's the best place? And we're going to, for everybody that's watching this on YouTube and listening on Apple Podcasts or any podcast service that you listen to, this will all be in the description below. We'll have links to several of the companies that Stephen talked about as far as tactical things as structurally and some of the commission sync and all this. But most importantly, if I want to get involved with your organization or buy or sell a home with you or an investment property or any aspect of real estate, where do I go to find you?
Yeah, so my website is pathhometeam.com. And you can find me, people can email me directly. It's Stephen with a V at pathhometeam.com. or you can find me on LinkedIn. So Stephen
Perfect.
Pilkington.
Yeah, on LinkedIn where he's crushing it. Yeah, and we'll have all this for everybody in the description below. So check out what he's doing. I mean, when you're looking at someone that you want to go on this career journey with, you're not going to find a better person. So Stephen, as I said, we'll have you back. We had 40 different things we wanted to talk about, and we talked about 2, right? But they were or 15 in there, but they're so important. And I always want to make sure we unpack certain things because we go so fast a lot of times that we forget that it's these nuanced things like 3 levers, right? 3 lead generation levers, those types of things that are just critical. The evolution of database, and then the simplistic process of just, if he could do one thing, probably he would have gone back and hired an assistant or a TC or any sort of leverage earlier, right? And getting out of our heads about it's going to cost me this much or this. Think about how much it's costing you not to have it, right? On a daily basis, right? And to help you grow your business. So again, so lucky that we got to have this conversation. Can't thank you enough. And to all the listeners out there, as always, I wish you great success.
Thank you very much, Brendan.